Preface to the chapter Transits and Positions in Solar Returns and Lunar Returns from Ciro Discepolo's book I Simboli Planetari, published by Armenia. The following chapters provide tips for applying the second component of active astrology, which I have called Exorcism of Symbols, both in relation to the transits of the stars in the birth houses and in relation to the positions of the stars within the solar return, lunar return, or terrestrial return charts. Many think that this technique should only be used if one is unable to take a birthday trip, whether solar or lunar. Instead, I use it every day, both for transits and for SRS and LRS, both to try to strengthen the favorable positions I am enjoying, and to try to smooth out the most acute aspects of the unfavorable configurations that are accompanying my existence at that precise time. I would like to point out that, from a quantitative or power perspective, I remain convinced that on a scale of 1 to 100, an excellent solar or lunar return can achieve, say, at least 80% of the effect, while the technique of exorcising symbols, in my opinion, never achieves results greater than about 20 to 25% in its maximum positive expression of a celestial shield. Naturally, the simultaneous application of the two techniques that form almost the entire substance of active astrology, which also includes, for example, a wise application of astrogeography, can offer truly exhilarating and very, very positive results. Let me add one last thing that I've already written several times, but which I'd like to reiterate. Over many years of practice in the field, I've become convinced that the transits of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus cannot be interpreted like all other planetary transits. Indeed, due to the enormous energy they release, not only must they be read with very narrow orbits, but they can no longer be read as if they were simply sextiles or simple squares or trines or oppositions. No, I think that only in the case of these three types of transits, I repeat, with very narrow orbits and close to half a degree or less, or at most to a degree and a half, we can no longer speak of a Pluto sextile to Mars, for example, but must refer to a Pluto-Mars polarity, meaning that a sextile, a conjunction, a square, a trine converge and interact simultaneously. Obviously, with the help of excellent aimed solar returns, we can make this polarity function more in the direction of the trine than the square. 10 good rules for exorcising symbols. 1. It's not possible to mathematize symbols, although in my pursuit of writing rules that allow everyone to practice good predictive astrology and to verify those rules, I've repeatedly sought algorithms that, while unable to decipher planetary symbols into pure mathematical formulas, can be of great help in active astrology and predictive astrology. See, for example, the discussion on the Disciple Honey algorithm on synastry, or my algorithm on the yearly danger index, or the algorithm underlying that little gem, astral detector, in this context, and to provide some terms of comparison for the sole purpose of promoting a better understanding of what I will explain in the following chapters. The first of the 10 good rules is the following. The positive contribution of an aimed solar return to a person's life, and for the period it intercepts, can be evaluated on a hypothetical scale of 1 to 100 at approximately 80 to 85 points. Conversely, everything we can bring about through the so-called exorcism of symbols should be evaluated at around a positive value of 20 to 25 points. 2. No one should delude themselves into thinking they can replace a poor aimed solar return. not performed simply by using the exorcism of symbols, precisely because of what has just been written in the preceding rule. 3. The exorcism of symbols within the objectives of active astrology does not serve merely to soften certain transits when one does not depart on the targeted birthday. Those who have deeply understood the teachings of this school know that every day and every minute of our lives, it is good to try to live in harmony with the symbols that govern us, for better or for worse. 4. If someone were to ask me the following question, having not left for the targeted birthday and having to face a very critical and difficult sky for 12 months, is it better to work on the exorcism of symbols or on continuous targeted lunar returns to neutralize the effects of the clumsy error? I would answer, you can do a little of both, but you'll always be stuck at that 20 to 25 point score, which, in the end, will convince you that it's always better to leave, since, after all, the journey is always something wonderful. 5. How many times should you exorcise during the year? There's no hard and fast rule, but in 40 years of experience, I've come to believe that it's better to aim to give 10 times more than the stars ask, rather than skimp on exorcism practice. In this book, you can read an entire chapter dedicated to the many, many exorcisms I performed in a year in which I simultaneously had terrible transits and terrible positions of the stars in the SR houses relative to the 3rd and 9th houses. As you'll read, I believe I offered the gods much more than they would have asked of me. I must say, however, that despite the many sacrifices made, the year I'm writing about has been one of the most constructive of my life. 6. Sometimes multiple exorcism options arise, some gentle, others very difficult to bear. Always choose the most difficult ones and never stop at 2 or 3. 7. I'm often asked, if I have very bad current positions and I choose to have heart surgery, couldn't I also lose my life during the procedure? Absolutely. In fact, in a year when our astral positions are more than threatening, any surgical procedures chosen for a moderate attempt at exorcising symbols should never involve high-risk, life-threatening operations. 8. In which months of the year is it best to attempt an exercise? At the beginning or end of the solar return? Always, as already mentioned. 9. Is exorcising symbols always a bloody, painful operation? Not at all. Exorcising symbols can also be used to strengthen good transits and good SR positions. For example, for a young man, say, 25 years old, they herald many delightful encounters with the opposite sex, and ours will be able to take great care of their appearance to achieve even better performance in romantic/sexual encounters. 10. If by exorcising the symbol we suffer permanent damage, is it legitimate and logical to pursue such a goal? Yes, if what we are avoiding is far more harmful to us. Let's remember the motto of the great Woody Allen, as long as it works. Ciro Discepolo.